Hello once again, race fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Dropping Hammer Racing Hour here on the Grueling Truth, where legends speak. I'm Alex Gray, along here with Michael Klein, and today we actually have a special guest here with us. We got Mr. Charles Crawl, a.k.a. the OrangeCone. How you doing today, sir?
Good. You just ruined my secret. Now everybody knows.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want me to stop for?
No, we're good. We're good. I'm kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just about everybody knows who the OrangeCone is at this point.
Yeah, it's the world's worst kept secret. The world's worst kept secret.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, it took me a while to figure it out, but.
Gotcha. Alrighty. So we haven't done the show in a little bit. Quite a few things have happened, of course. Well, today's April Fool's Day, but I don't really feel like making, I was thinking about making a joke saying we're going racing this weekend, but obviously that's not happening anytime soon. We are going virtual racing, though. A bunch of NASCAR Cup drivers and even Xfinity, ARCA, and truck drivers have gotten together, decided to run in the NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series. Both races, one ran in Homestead, one ran in Texas. Both aired on Fox Sports 1. A huge hit from what things look like so far. The first race, Denny Hamlin edging out Dale Earnhardt Jr. in an amazing last lap battle. Denny Hamlin getting the win there at Homestead. And then Texas was won by Timmy Hill. Timmy Hill.
Timmy,
He was, don't underestimate him. He is an excellent iRacing driver. As a matter of fact, he probably has iRacing to thank for where he is now. He has over 600-plus wins, actually, in his iRacing career, so huge win for him, especially considering the fact that I think he uses like a 13-year-old steering wheel and pedals like an old setup compared to Denny Hamlin, who was using like a $40,000 motion setting rig, from what they've called it. What do you guys think so far of the Pro Invitational Series?
Love it. Having so much fun watching it.
Yeah, guys, I mean, I'm not a big iRacing guy. I will confess to that, but it is very good, particularly in where we're at socially right now. It is really good to just get people together, give them something that takes them, the world off their minds for a little bit. And I know the drivers are having fun with it. The fans are having fun with it. And that's really all that matters right now. I don't think I've probably watched more than 10 minutes of these iRacing videos over the course of the years. It's just not my thing. But I do admit a lot of people love it. A lot of people think it's a lot of fun, and there's no better outcome for me than to see a guy like Timmy Hill win that race the other day. Timmy's a great dude. I've known his dad a long time. He and his brother Tyler are just great kids, and it makes me happy to see them have a little bit of success and get some attention.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. The nice thing about this whole thing is that, they're on equal setups, so, who knows? You put them all in equal cars on real life, and let's see how they would do.
Yeah,
that's what I would like to see. Let's give Timmy a chance to go out and drive Denny's car, and let's put Denny in Timmy's car and see what happens. We'll see. We'll see who's who.
Cars.
Right.
Now that would be interesting. That would be interesting. Overall, yes. I agree. I think here's how I see it, because apparently some people have come out and said, oh, this is not real racing. Dude, I'm thankful that this is still going on, because there is no major sport going on right now. Everything's pretty much been put on hold because of the current pandemic. And I'm very thankful that Fox Sports 1 actually put this together. It's been fun actually having Mike Joy and Jeff Gordon call a virtual race. I think the broadcast was really good too. Everything just was set up so good. Adam Stern tweeted out that the first race had about 903,000 viewers from what I've heard, is the most of an esports event ever on television. And then the race, let me pull it up, the race at Texas earned 1.339 million viewers, which NASCAR broke its own record for the most viewed esports event in U.S. television history. And from what I've heard, I think JC might have posted this. Of course, the Nielsen ratings on television, claiming that potentially over like 200,000, I'll have to read it again, but like over 200,000 people who hadn't watched a single race all year could have been watching this. So I think, let me see here. I'm trying to find it because I know JC posted something about it. But honestly, I think this is really good, not just for NASCAR, but I also think it's really good for esports and, heck, even iRacing in general. I think this is massive for iRacing. As a matter of fact, I think I've heard like they've even increased in new subscribers to the simulation as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I use iRacing all the time, and down at the bottom of the screen, it actually lets you know just how many races are online at the time, and that number has gone up so much since this whole esports thing started.
Wow.
Like we were talking about, like 7,000, 8,000 on at a time, and now we're talking about 12, 13.
Holy cow.
Yeah, this is the greatest thing that could happen to the iRacing platform, is to get it out there, to get it on national television. To me, it's not, watching, 40 real race cars beating and banging at a place like Martinsville or Phoenix or whatever, but, it's enjoyable to watch. People love it, and, the great thing about it is it gives other people something to do. I know my sons are both dying to get a rig to get set up and do this. They're not quite old enough just yet. But everyone wants to go out there and say they could race with Timmy Hill or Denny Hamlin or Joey Logano or any of these guys. Well, this gives you a chance to go out and do it, and it's awesome that this is happening throughout this sort of crisis time that we're all going through. It does give us something fun to look forward to in a bright spot in an otherwise kind of dreary couple of months. But I'm, like I said, not necessarily my cup of tea, but I think that this is great, and I think it's awesome that these drivers are doing this and giving us something to smile about.
Yeah, I don't think it's meant to, replace the real deal, but, it's just, since we can't have that right now, it's definitely helping out a lot of people. So, and I get it. It's not for some people. I mean, there's people on Twitter who have been doing that who've been talking about that all week, since the last one. I think Brett Griffin was talking trash about it. I couldn't really see what he said because he has me blocked. But that's just from what I saw.
I think he had some beef with Chris Knight for a little bit when Chris Knight was tweeting something about it. And I guess, I think Brett Griffin said something along the lines of, I play Madden, I don't see the difference, or something like that. And I was just like, well, here's the difference. iRacing is a legit simulator. They actually go out and scan the real racetracks to make it as realistic as possible. And even it's so challenging and realistic, the top cup drivers of NASCAR even struggle with some of the iRacing setups. So,
well, to me, here's where it's always going to fall short. Okay, mm-hmm. And it is very realistic. It is. I mean, the graphics are fantastic, and the physics of it, they're getting better and better all the time. But you go down, say you're going down the backstretch at Texas, like Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney were the other day, and these two cars come together and they go down and bounce off the inside wall. Well, there's no one comes and whacks you upside the head with a brick and kicks you in the crotch, which is what would really happen if you hit the wall there at 200 miles an hour. That's the problem that I have with it, is that anybody could haul off and just drive it down into the corner and smack the fence and hit the reset button and right, I could get good at doing that. I do not want to get whacked upside the head with a brick, and I do not want to get kicked in the crotch, by the lap belt. So that's where the stumbling block for me is always going to come in. Yeah, I was really, really good at Tecmo Super Bowl, on the old Sega Genesis system. I didn't want to get tackled, guys. I didn't play high school football because I didn't want to get tackled. That was it.
Right.
So, when you take that out of the competition, the risk, when you take the risk out of the competition, that's what makes the competition to me, is that there is a risk. And, it's fun as it is. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people who love it. It's fantastic. I'm not knocking iRacing at all. But, it is such a different skill set. It's such a different skill set, and it takes an entirely different level of courage that 99.99999% of the people in this world do not have to go off into a corner at a place like Texas at 200 miles an hour.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, but what I see is that can just make it more fun because, you can just watch people, just try to wreck each other and just laugh it off, like you saw with Daniel Suarez.
Oh, yeah. That was funny. Suarez tried to intentionally wreck Dylan. iRacing actually ended up parking him, and then Suarez ended up tweeting, kind of blaming it on his dog, saying his dog took over, kind of like Alex Bowman. He has been the Twitter king of all this as well. I
don't know. I wouldn't say that's probably Clint Boyer, but I don't know. I guess he's not really a Twitter dude.
Oh, God, Boyer.
Yeah, Boyer has just been absolute gold this whole time.
Oh, he's been amazing. Just that one point where Larry McReynolds was like, I think he told Clint during the Texas race, he's like, Clint, listen, you're in 24th. You're off the pace by 2 seconds. Why don't you hit pit road so I look like I know what the hell I'm talking about? And even though he made the joke, is like, all right, Jeff, you're not my spotter anymore. You're fired. Larry, you're in. It was, oh, my God, the funniest stuff. One point, Greg Biffle and Clint Boyer actually FaceTime going, what the heck, man? Why'd you hit me? It's honestly, I think it's also good that these guys just goof off sometimes because, obviously, there's a lot of stress going on right now. And I tell you what, I've laughed so hard just watching both of those races. And we got Bristol coming up this coming Sunday. And they may need to have multiple resets because that race is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Knowing how I
think I said this on Twitter. What they need to do is they just need to set up Street Fighter tournaments for after the race. So anybody who needs to go at it, they can just do it online.
There you go. I think that's a great idea. Let's see here. Adam Stern also posted yesterday NASCAR and iRacing are working on some format changes to the Pro Invitational Series that will include heat races for sources. Besides, are also working on adding a second race just for Xfinity and truck drivers, but not yet clear if it'll be televised or just streamed. What are your all's thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, even if it's not televised on Fox, they can still do it on YouTube or something like that, and I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of them who are like Twitch streaming it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that you actually will see that. I'm not privy to any information, but I think that with the success of what they've seen with this Pro Invitational Series, that they will carry that on to other things. And yeah, I think it's going to be good. Again, just more content and more entertainment options for our fans as we're, kind of in this dark period.
Yeah. So Charles, that reminds me. When is ARCA going to come out with something like this? I mean, ARCA needs an iRacing series.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. That's all I can tell you.
All right. That would be pretty awesome. So.
Yeah, I know that there have been some discussions on this. I don't know how close they are to putting anything like this out, but again, we're just wanting to fill in those gaps right now for people, and our drivers have been curious about this and would like to participate, and if there's a way that we can do it, I know that there are a lot of parties involved who would like to. So we'll see what happens. Nothing at all to announce on that front right now, but I do know that there's a lot of people who would really like to see that happen. So stay tuned.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Part of me kind of wants to try iRacing, but right now I just don't have the money nor the equipment to do it. But I've been enjoying a lot of the other races too. There's also been the Replacements 100, that truck race that Ryan Vargas set up and put together just instantly, and just got everyone to rally around, which is just amazing. What was I going to mention? Oh,
you know what? I think he had another announcement to make at noon today.
Oh, is that right?
I think it had something to do with the second one. Let me go check.
All right. You go ahead and pull that up real quick. And then lastly, Jimmy Johnson making his virtual IndyCar iRacing debut. I believe they all ran at Road America. Jimmy Johnson just kind of getting the feel of things. He even actually set up his rig, the first Pro Invitational race, to just to get the feel of what it's like to run an IndyCar, which I find rather intriguing.
Okay, so, no, it wasn't that. It was an April Fool's joke, it looks like.
Oh, okay.
About going back to Bandolero racing at the Summer Shootout.
Might not be a joke. You never know. Might not be a joke. Bubba Wallace did it. He went back and ran, Legends cars.
Yeah, in a Legends car. We're talking about a Bandolero. I've never seen a kid over 13.
I mean, the weight penalty there would be a little harsh, but, might not be a joke.
No, I don't think he's listening, so I guess I can say this. Vargas is a pretty short dude, so he could probably fit one of those.
There you go.
All righty. And, and also this bit of news came out yesterday. This is not an April Fool's joke, or the day before even. So obviously in 2021 was supposed to be the debut of the next-gen car. NASCAR said that they have delayed it to later in the 2021 season, in which it would feel like 2007 all over again when they were splitting time with the Gen 4 in the car tomorrow. However, since then, Toyota, among other NASCAR team owners, have urged NASCAR to push the next-gen car back to 2022, which I'm with them on that one. I think you want to get this product right. I think you want to push it back to 2022. You get more tests with it. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I think it makes the most sense to work on a 2022 launch, not just because you've got to test that car, but you also have to pay for that car. And right now, these teams are in a mode where there's not a lot of revenue.
Yeah.
And it's likely, once we go back racing, there's not going to be a lot of revenue. It's going to be a tough year for a lot of these teams. And to ask them to lay out, to ask someone, even someone like Rick Hendrick, to come to him and say, hey, you're going to need to lay out, $30 million to upgrade your 4 race teams. Right now, that's a lot of money, and that's really hard to come up with, and it's hard to make sense of. So, I mean, and again, I'm just throwing that number out there, but, I think it makes a lot of sense. Give these teams some time to regenerate some cash flow, get that car right. From everything we've seen, it's exactly what we've all been looking for. Let's just give them some time. We're going to have it's going to be an interesting 2020. I'm going to tell you that, without, again, not looking at schedules because they haven't been announced to anybody. No one knows anything. But we do know, at least at the Brickyard, we're going to have Indy cars. We're going to have Indy cars on the road course.
My God.
We're going to have Xfinity. We're going to have ARCA over at the short track. We're going to have Brickyard 400. Expect more of that. So it's going to be a great 2020.
God, that's going to be so awesome.
And I think that's going to open up some opportunities for 2021. So we're going to have some very interesting schedules to look forward to in 2021 that we wouldn't have had if not for the challenge that this industry is facing right now. I think, like I said, I think it's going to open up the door, and I think people are going to say, hey, we should have been doing this kind of stuff a long time ago. That's just my gut feeling.
Oh, certainly.
So we've got that to look forward to in 2021. Then we'll look forward to this new car, hopefully in 2022, and we'll just kind of go from there. But that's not to say something changes a month from now, and the industry says, hey, you know what, we are going to get this car ready for 2021. That'd be fine with me too. But I think if you just take the time, allow these teams to regenerate their cash flow, allow the manufacturers to go out there and take some time away from racing, do what they need to do to get the medical supplies out in the field. 3 months from now, we're all going to be ready to get back to real life, and then we can start worrying about that race car. But for now, I like the idea of pushing it back to 2022.
Yeah, and I talked about this last week, I think, about possibly doing that because, Formula One had already done that. I didn't necessarily see NASCAR doing that just because they still had a full season planned, and I figured they'd still be able to get that testing in. But, like you said, Charles, what I wasn't thinking of was the cost to the teams, and especially with all this going on now and how that's just going to, further cripple them financially. It definitely does make more sense, I think, now, to move it back to 2022.
Well, let's think about this, too. Let's think about this, too, Michael. So we're going to have 30 – how many more cup races? How many have we had? 2? 3? 3 cup races? 4 cup races. Sorry, we've had 4 cup races. We've got 32 yet to go. We're going to have 32 races to run in, let's just say, 20 weeks. Okay, so that's going to take a lot of extra days are going to get smushed in there. Okay, so that is not going to leave any extra time to do any extra testing. None. You're going to be going from racetrack to racetrack. You're going to be, again, I don't have any knowledge. I am not in those discussions. I am on a need-to-know basis, and I don't need to know. But just doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out if you intend to run 32 races and you have 20 weeks, well, that's 12 races you're going to have to squeeze in to those 20 weeks. So what do you got? It just looks like there's going to be some midweek races. Looks like there's going to be some double headers, which both of those I think are fantastic ideas.
Mm-hmm. I really can't wait for midweek races if you get those.
And then on top of that, you're going to be squeezing in Xfinity. You're going to be squeezing in Truck. You're going to be squeezing in ARCA and East and West. There's a lot that's going to be going on once we get the green flag to go back racing. So testing is going to be so far down the list of things that we need to get done for 2020 that I do not see a way that car can be developed properly to debut in 2021. Not to say that it couldn't happen, because it could. I mean, these race teams are pretty ingenious folks, but I just don't think that we're going to have enough time to make it happen. So I think it's great to push it back to 2022, and the financial part of it, I think, will be a big help for these teams too.
Yeah, and just think too that they were talking about that with the assumption that we were going to go back racing at Martinsville. But right now, that's looking less and less likely, especially with the stay-at-home order that the Virginia governor has ordered up until June 10th, I believe. So honestly, much hate to say it, I don't think Martinsville is going to be next, and I think this is probably going to go on a little bit longer, maybe through June. Personally, right now, I can't see it going much further than that, but that's just going to depend on how this whole situation changes.
Right. So we all have to realize. So whenever someone gets a real popular tweet, they call it going viral for a reason, because it starts off really, really slow. And you get 1 or 2 likes or 10 likes or 50 likes, and then someone important sees it and amplifies it, and all of a sudden it blows up.
Yep.
Well, it's the same thing that we're watching with our life, right? There's a reason why they call it going viral, because that's what's happening. It starts really slow. Right, 2 weeks ago, there were only 500 cases, and you heard all these people saying, well, it's not that bad. Well, right, it's not that bad right now. But it's going to be, because it's a virus. That's how this works. It's going to spread throughout the entire country. I mean, there's no way to prevent that. So we have to do it smart. We have to put, hit the pause button. There are very few things. I'm actually breathing a little heavy right now because I'm doing the one thing we can all still do, and that's go out and take a walk. And I'm out getting a little exercise as we do this. But, you know, we do. We have to hit the pause button. We have to stay away from one another. We have to let this thing run its course. And, and you know, nobody wants to go racing more than my bosses do, more than the folks at NASCAR do. I mean, this is what we do. I mean, this is our life. It's all we do. And to be sitting in the office and to be trapped in our homes instead of going to Five Flags or to Nashville or to Irwindale or wherever, it just sucks, man. There's no other way around it. It just sucks. But we have to wait. It's you know, we don't want to make our competitors or our fans make a choice that could put them in danger. You know, that's not good. That's not good for anybody. So we're just going to take it easy. We're going to let this thing run its course. Once we get the green flag, we're going to rework the schedule to where it's best for everybody. And we are going to have a ton of racing in a very short period of time. And I'll tell you what, it is going to be freaking awesome. I never wanted to have this happen, but if it had to happen, the outcome of this later on in the summer for us race fans is going to be something that we've always wanted. It's literally going to be racing every day for 20 weeks. So I'm looking forward to it. We just got to get there. That's all.
The one good thing about this whole thing.
Right. You got to keep a positive. You know, Kenny Wallace talks about this all the time. Positive mental attitude. You know, we're in some dark times right now, guys. You know, you go to the grocery store. You know, it's picked clean. You know, they've got signs outside. Don't come in here if you're sick. You know, it is dark times, but we do have a lot to look forward to, and that's what we all need to. We need to do what we have to do right now to get to do the things we want to do later.
Exactly.
And every one of us wants to go racing, and it's once we get there, guys, it's going to be spectacular. So let's just, like I said, hit the pause button. Wait it out, and when we get there, it's going to be fantastic. So we just got to be patient and let the world get back to some semblance of normalcy, and then we'll go race.
Yeah, exactly. I think,
Kenny was brilliant when he said that. You know, if everyone in this world could have the mental attitude of Kenny Wallace, this world would be such a better place.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes. Kenny's a little crazy.
Oh, yeah,
Kenny's a little crazy.
Yeah.
Kenny's one of my favorite people. Here's a great story. I used to give Kenny a hard time on Twitter. I used to tease him quite a bit. And I was at Michigan one time after the race. Kenny was on television taking a break during TV. Kyle Petty sees me walk by. Kyle calls me out and says, "Hey, there's the orange cone." Kenny stops what he's doing, takes his headset off, runs down the stage, gives me the biggest hug of my life. No one has ever hugged me the way Kenny Wallace has hugged me. And I thought he was going to punch me. I was like, oh, my God, I'm going to have a fight in front of my kids. Jesus Christ. But he is. He's just a super nice guy, all about having fun. Whether you agree with his politics or think he was the world's worst race car driver, whatever else. Kenny is a good-hearted dude.
Xfinity wins, so you can't really call him that.
Right. He's a good-hearted dude. He wants to make people smile. He wants to smile. I think he's fantastic, and he is someone that I cherish to consider him a friend. So, yeah, he's a good dude. But we all should have that PMA, right? Positive mental attitude.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just want to.
What else you guys got for me? What else you guys got for me? What else do you want to talk about?
Go ahead, Al.
Go ahead.
All right, so I just want to say, dude, I know you and Kenny have different political views and all, but just to hear you talking that good about him is awesome. You know, it's nice to
vastly
hear that people can get along like that.
We can still get along. Vastly different, but we can still get along. I think Kenny. I know where Kenny's heart is. That's all I need to know. Where's your heart? And his heart's in the right place. That's all that matters to me.
Yep, that's all that should matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when we go back to racing, I think it's going to be very bittersweet. I think we're all going to be very thankful. I think, or at least I'm hoping, every track is just jam-packed with fans because everyone's just going to be, as long as things are safe, of course.
Well,
and I think people are just
I think that's going to be the thing is how much does what's happening right now change our culture going forward? Okay, so 9/11 changed our culture.
Yes.
Okay, it changed the way we do a lot of things.
Oh,
we don't just pull up in front of the airport anymore and leave our car and run inside to go pick somebody up. You know, it has changed our culture significantly. So how does this change our culture? Are people going to be afraid to come out and be in a group of 100,000 people? I hope not. I'm not going to be.
Not either. Yeah, I'm not
I hope not. But because I will tell you what, anybody who can remember going to a race, I was at the Indy 500 last year. There's 300,000 people there. Anybody who can remember going to a race and sharing that experience with 300,000 people will tell you that's much more fun than sharing it with 300 people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the more people who are there just adds to the significance of an event. You know, I know that we are, you know, we're talking about having sporting events in front of, you know, no audience, baseball, wrestling. We even talked about it in NASCAR. You know, well, let's run this race at Homestead in Atlanta without fans. You know, and part of me was really happy that was a possibility because I want to watch a race.
Mm-hmm.
But the other part of me is really sad because those people in the grandstands create the atmosphere that makes that race so exciting and so much fun. So,
exactly.
You know, I don't want to lose that going forward. You know, I hope people are willing to come out. You know, I'm at the park, like I said, I'm at the park right now, and the parking lots are full here. You know, no one's on top of one another, but there's still a lot of people out here, you know, gathering and doing things together. So we'll see. I think people are going to want to come back, but I think that there are going to be some people who are pretty spooked about this, and it's going to take us a while to coax them into coming and doing these things again. But, you know, we got to get there, man. We can't. I'm not giving this up. You know, you're going to see me at racetracks as soon as we can. I'm going to be sitting at a racetrack somewhere, whether I'm working, whether I'm watching. You know, I'm ready to get back at it.
Yeah, and I'm still wanting to go to Kentucky and Indy, especially. So
right.
I'm still looking ahead to that and still planning for that, even though with everything going on. And I think you make some very, very, very valid points. I think there possibly will be some sort of sense of paranoia, which is understandable. And I think, you know, guys, I always feel like the human life is just so fragile sometimes, and people are just going to be like, oh, I don't know if I want to go. But I think eventually, hopefully, people will feel better and, you know, we'll start seeing that. And not to mention, well, we were talking about the whole thing with the next-gen car being pushed back. I think NASCAR also has to look ahead and get back in a potential 2009 mode with the economy, because the economy's been hit hard. So, especially with you know, the automobile industry and all the sponsors that come into NASCAR, that's something to think about too with the sport. Right.
Well, you know, every challenge is also an opportunity. So.
Exactly.
You know, there are a lot of really smart people who are working on this deal every day. You know, those phones between Daytona and Charlotte and Charlotte and where I'm at here in Ohio, those phones are lit up all day long, and we're all working on it.
Yep.
You know, there isn't anybody who is involved in this deal. You know, I know there are people listening to this who are going to disagree. There is no one involved in this deal who doesn't have the sport's best interest at heart. You know, you might disagree, but these folks are all doing everything they're doing because they love this, they want it to succeed, and there are going to be some challenges going forward. You know, there's no doubt about it. There's going to be challenges for every business going forward. You know, whether you are a retailer or a restaurant, a baseball team, a movie theater, you know, that's just a fact. And I'm comforted in knowing all of these people are doing everything they can to hit the ground running, whenever we're allowed to get back at it. And the great thing about it is we've got people who are, while we're dark from racing, that are actively involved in helping get us through this, whether they have allowed their manufacturing facilities. I mean, that's what these race teams are. Race teams are manufacturing companies. They manufacture race cars.
Yeah.
They've turned that attention into manufacturing protective equipment, or making parts for ventilators or whatever, which is just awesome to see. Just awesome to see. We've got a lot of really great, bright people involved in the sport, and makes me feel good knowing these folks are not just wrapped up in making cars go fast, that they're actually really decent, good people that just want to help.
Yeah.
Now, that's one thing about auto racing, is that we all look out for each other. Everybody looks out for one another, and they're showing that right now.
I agree.
Yeah, they sure are.
Yeah. I've always felt like the auto racing industry is just like one big happy family. We've seen
it's one big family.
Yeah.
Don't know that it's always a happy family, but it is a very big family, and we all do look out for each other, and it's true. I mean, we all want, you can't have a race if you're just out there by yourself. And I'll tell you what, Rick Hendrick wants to win 36 races a year. But in order to do that, he needs Jack Roush to be out there. He needs Tony Stewart to be out there. We're all interdependent here.
Yep.
And just going out there, and I mean, heck, I could go out there and drive 400 laps in a stock car. Might not be very fast, but I could do it. To go out there and compete, you want to compete against the best of the best, and that's what we need. We need everybody to come through this, and we need everyone to come through it healthy and solvent, and we need to go race. That's what we need to do.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. I think you're making really good points there, and just real quick, getting a little off topic, but I want to offer my thoughts to everyone being affected in this situation. Just praying for those who have been tested positive for COVID-19. Also thinking about all the doctors and the nurses that have to. They're constantly at work, especially in the epicenter of New York. Obviously, it's really, really bad over there right now. People are literally working almost nonstop, just trying to cure people. And we're thinking about all of you, those of you that are affected. We're thinking about everyone affected in this situation. And just saying that we're praying for those people, because obviously it's just it's a tough situation right now.
Yeah, and it is. So,
couldn't agree more.
We're definitely thankful to everybody who's helping, keep the world moving.
Certainly.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Trying to think of some extra questions. OrangeCone, do you want to? Of course, you've been talking a lot about things going on. Do you want to? For those who may not know who you are, do you want to just at least talk about what you do and?
Yeah. I mean, I'm in addition to being a world-renowned smartass on Twitter, I'm also the communications manager for the ARCA Menard series, and have been for a couple of years. I also host the Track Pass broadcast on NBC Sports Gold for the ARCA Menard's East and West broadcasts. You can see those also on tape delay on NBC SN. And I've been around. My grandparents are Sports Hall of Fame. They were officials with ARCA back when I was, even before I was born, actually. But they're the folks who got me involved in racing. And if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I talk a lot about Diehard Racing. That is a team back in the 70s and 80s that had Darrell Waltrip drive the Gatorade car, and Bobby Allison drove the Miller High Life car, and we were very successful.
43 races in about 10 years, and won the 1983 Cup Series championship, won the 1982 Daytona 500. Well, my uncle was the owner of that team, so I've been very tied into racing my whole life, and it is my life, and I like to make people smile, I like to make people happy, I like to share my enthusiasm for the sport with everybody. I'm not quite the smart ass that I used to be on Twitter. It's hard to do that when you got bosses watching you all the time. But I still enjoy interacting with people and joking around with people and making people happy. And I instead of making those off-color jokes that character used to make, we spent a lot more time talking about racing history and what's going on with families and that type of stuff. It's still a lot of fun. I still enjoy doing it, but that's it. Racing. I've learned to play golf in recent years, and that takes a little bit of my attention. My girlfriend lives 4 hours away, and trying to figure out a way to see her also takes my attention. But I live and breathe race cars. That's what I do. I paint race cars. I draw race cars. I sketch race cars. My kids love going to the races. That's really all I do all day long is talk racing and think racing. I just want everybody to love it as much as me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what you were saying there actually kind of led into one of my questions. Like what does ARCA think of you having that parody account? Because I know that you're supposed to put on a really professional thing, so that may be seen as unprofessional. I don't know, but was ARCA always on board with that?
They've known from the start. This, like I've said, it's been a well-kept secret for some people, but I have gone through the industry right from the very start. When this started on MySpace back in 2006, I told people, because I didn't want it to be a surprise. I didn't want people to see something that account said and thought that it was a personal attack against them or whatever. So, us has known about that from the very start. And I'm not going to say that I don't push the boundaries from time to time and get my wrist slapped, because it's happened. But I don't share confidential information. They know that. It's because I don't want to lose my job. That would be stupid to do that.
Yeah.
And I have agreed to keep it, rated PG. I think that's that is where that needs to be for now, and I try not to get myself engaged in any type of controversy, and I think you would be hard pressed to find anything on there in the course of the last couple of years where I've gotten involved with that account in any type of major argument. Now on my personal account, I will argue politics all day long on that account, and that's I'm okay with that. But the one that everyone follows and the one that everyone associates with racing, I'm going to keep it very PG rated and make it lighthearted and fun, and that's what it should be. And they, very, very, very rarely do I get any sort of guidance from anybody. And like the Daytona 500 situation, I was just as upset as everybody else was with what happened with Ryan Newman, and very concerned. And I had sent out a couple of tweets, post race, just kind of hoping that everything was going to be okay, and just trying not only to calm my nerves but calm everybody else. And I got a call that night, and they said, hey, just if you could just lay out. We're just going to let this play out, and I'm like, you're right. That's the right thing to do. We'll see what happens in the morning, and that's okay. I'll take that kind of guidance all day long, because there's a much bigger picture here that I'm just a very small part of, and I don't want to do anything that's going to put anybody in a bad position with that. So yeah, but as far as the type of content that I'm, they really haven't. They just don't want to see anything R-rated or above. I think we're good.
All right. So, small quick question: where did the OrangeCone name come from? Why did you decide to go with that?
Because I was at an indoor midget race at Fort Wayne, Indiana, with a couple of buddies of mine, and we were doing a broadcast in the grandstands just for ourselves. I was doing play-by-play with a couple of other guys, and every time there was an incident on this little bull ring, this little 1/8 of a mile oval, and, you know, there was a car that was taken down into the infield, we needed a pit reporter. And the only thing in the infield was an orange cone. So we would send it down to the orange cone. And we just laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. And that's where it came from. You know, it just blew up from there, you know.
That's awesome.
And then the funny part was after that, they started putting the cone at the entrance to pit road. It was like, well, how natural is this? You know, so yeah, it was a lot of fun for a long time. You know, I can remember, you know, sitting on the couch with my children during the broadcast of the Daytona 500 and hearing Mike Joy talk about my Twitter account, you know, to 10 million people. And it's just, you know, my kids are just sitting there going, they're talking about you? I'm like, yeah, they're talking about me. It's pretty crazy. I'm just some fat bald guy sitting on my couch in Toledo, Ohio. And, you know, here we are getting talked about on national broadcasts. So, you know, I have been very fortunate to have had a lot of exposure within the sport. And, you know, I've known a lot of those people. You know, Rick Allen on the truck broadcasts would talk about me all the time. And, you know, it's because I've known Rick since 2003. You know, so, you know, it just to have those relationships and to have the fun with the drivers that we had, it's certainly some of the greatest memories that I've ever had, and it has allowed me to go and do some very, very cool things. I wouldn't know my girlfriend if not for that OrangeCone Twitter account, you know, and, you know, it's how fortunate are you to have that? You wouldn't have it if not for a silly parody Twitter account. So I'm one of the luckiest guys in the world, honestly.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it.
Mhm. That's pretty cool. It's super cool to just get know a little bit more about you and you know what you have done over time. It's just I think it's great just hearing stuff like that. If I had any questions, you mentioned the Diecard Racing, who you mentioned was probably one of the top NASCAR teams way back when. Well known.
I like to think it was the top NASCAR team.
Yeah. So, did you mention something about your uncle being the owner of that team or something? Or did I mix that up?
That is correct. My mother's sister is married to Bill Gardner, who is the owner of that team. So, yeah, that's
wow.
That is how, you know, part of my racing history. You know, I was just a kid back then, so you know, nothing to do with the race team success. But you know, when that's part of your family history, it still counts. And you know, to be able to go visit them and hear some of those stories and see the spoils of their success. You know, I still have to talk him into getting the trophies out of the garage. He's got the Winston Cup is just sitting in a box up in his attic of the garage. And I'm like, you know, hey, you're not going to display that. I will. Come on, let me get my hands on that. I'll clean it up. I'll polish it. You know, so I'm gonna keep bending his elbow on that one and see if I can make it happen. But you know, yeah, it is really cool. I can remember when I was 9 years old. You know, we had our Pinewood Derby for the Boy Scouts. I had made the regional finals for the Pinewood Derby, and we went to the mall where the runoffs were, and you know, there's hundreds of kids, and it's just taking forever. And I didn't want to just sit there and do nothing in between rounds. So we walked from, you know, where the races were being held over to JCPenney, where they had TVs, and the TVs were tuned into the Daytona 500. And we missed my round because we were busy watching my uncle's race car win the Daytona 500. How cool is that, you know?
Yeah.
I'd much rather win the Daytona 500 than come home with a little plastic trophy. Do that anyway.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, man. I picked the Daytona 500, especially if that's your uncle, you know, owning a car that's winning the race. I think that's super cool. Just hearing stories like that. And
Right.
yeah, the Winston Cup championship trophy's just in a box in the attic, you said?
It's in a box in the attic. I'm gonna go up in the
man.
attic and get it out when we go down there for our race. Hopefully in May. I'm gonna, fingers crossed, hopefully in May. But whenever ARCA races down in Charlotte, I'm gonna go down a couple of days early and spend a couple of days with them, and I'm gonna go up in the attic and I'm gonna pull that baby out and I'm gonna get her all polished up and take some pictures with it and and I'm gonna beg them, hey man, come on, let me take it home. Come on. Let me have this thing.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll say it's a loan. We'll just call it a loan,
Yeah, you're borrowing it.
Yeah, we'll just borrow it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like the episode of SpongeBob, when they borrowed a balloon. Well, on free balloon day. But
Right.
But no, seriously, I think that's really cool.
I didn't know that about you, man. That's actually really awesome.
Yeah, I love hearing stuff like that and seeing what kind of stories you may have from it. I think that's super awesome.
We all have those stories. Everyone has a story on how they got involved, and I was really lucky to get to go to the racetrack with my grandparents every week, whether it was Flat Rock Speedway or an ARCA race, somewhere that we would have to drive to, and I thought I was the luckiest kid in the world. I didn't have to go to Little League baseball games or any of that stuff. I got to go to the races, and here I am, 40 years later, still doing the same thing. So I'm a lucky guy.
Yeah. So just real quick, I've been scrolling on Twitter a little bit here. There's actually some pretty big news about the iRacing events for this week. First off, Grand Marshals are going to be Rob Gronkowski and
all right.
Mojo guy. I don't know. He's a WWE guy. Mojo something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I know less about than iRacing is wrestling. So.
Yeah. And also, it looks like they're going to air the IndyCar iRacing event at Barber on NBCSN.
All right. Right on. That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yep. And this probably goes into what I had asked earlier, Charles, about ARCA doing that. Bob Parker just announced they're actually are going to hold a second series for all the feeder series, including ARCA, for Saturday night.
Ooh.
All right. Wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
is it?
Well, it's my hope that Chandler Smith and Michael Self and all of the Drew Dollar and Haley Deegan just go out there and absolutely wax those guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Chandler Smith absolutely would.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we don't hear his name more often, but he's absolutely the next big thing.
You will hear his name quite a bit. I mean, he won the last time out at Phoenix, so he's already established himself this year as someone you're going to have to deal with. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody come into the sport in my time who has been more dominant at this level in such a short period of time than Chandler Smith. He's a good dude. He's, and on top of that, he is just a phenomenal race car driver. So got a big future ahead of him.
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
It's weird. It's like I just noticed that you don't see his name really brought up as much as, say, somebody like Haley Deegan. No.
Yeah.
Well, Haley is, she gets a lot of coverage and deservedly so. She's got a huge social media following, and she's got a great personality, and there are for some reason people like to look at her. I don't know why they like looking at her, but no, in all honesty, she really is. In addition to being just visually pleasant to look at, I mean, she is a very beautiful young lady, and her parents are great. Her family is great. She's great. She is extremely talented behind the steering wheel, and you add in a very outgoing and fun personality. She is the package right now. She just is. She's got everything that these folks are looking for, and we're we are very, very happy to have her here in ARCA land. We're very fortunate that they chose ARCA to come and race, and we look forward to having her throughout the rest of the year. She's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had the pleasure to hang out with her a bunch at Daytona. Yeah, they're really fun people to hang out around. I was just saying,
Yep.
With Chandler, he's not getting the next big thing hype like, say, Ty Gibbs, Haley Deegan, some of those guys get, when honestly, he may be the brightest of them all. His future may be the brightest of them all. I mean, he's got 9 wins in ARCA?
I think something like 9 or 10. Yeah, he certainly is. He really is. He's got a huge future ahead of him. Everything that Christian Eckes is going through right now is Chandler's menu for next year. I really believe that. He's those two, Christian Eckes and Chandler Smith are the future, and they're here. I mean, they're going to be, both of them are going to be big news.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they develop as race car drivers, and I agree. I think we're going to be hearing a lot about them in the near future. All right. Anything else you guys in particular want to talk about?
No, guys, I'm actually up on another obligation coming up here. I didn't realize that we had burned through the hour that quick, so I got to skate. But I certainly appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to doing this again sometime soon. Hopefully, after we go back racing, I'd love to come on and maybe give a mid-season recap and talk about what 2021 is starting to look like. So certainly appreciate you having me on, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Thank you so much, OrangeCone.
All right. So, yeah, that was a pretty good discussion with them.
Yeah. Great having him on there. I apologize for acting like I slipped up at the start of the show. I legitimately, because I had woke up 25 minutes prior, and I was like, oh, wait.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was going out getting lunch for my family, and, at about 12:30, I was like, oh, wait, I got the show to do at 1. The whole first half, if you heard me chewing, that's because I was actually eating my piata.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so...
Which, by the way, I don't think a lot of people have heard of this place, but it's basically Italian street food, kind of like Chipotle, but for Italian food. Really good. I would recommend. And if Piata's listening, I'm looking for sponsorship, so feel free to hit me up.
Yeah. I'd love to, if any chance, I'd love to give shout-outs to local businesses around Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, where we are, because I know a lot of radio stations have been doing that, because obviously those businesses are hurting. I will confess something. I've been outdoor dashing because I need extra money. I'm wearing gloves. I'm taking care of myself. I'm being careful. I promise.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and with my work, I'm considered essential. So yeah, I've kind of going in. So yeah,
and plus,
I'm essential, everybody.
Yeah, and I'm helping any business out as well because they're getting orders out to people, and people are getting their food. So I think that's also a pretty good thing as well. One other thing I wanted to bring up as well, we'll also take time to remember someone who I think achieved a lot in little time. Alan Kalicki, a.k.a. the Underbird, on this day in 1993, he passed away in a plane crash. 1992. Winston Cup champion, a guy who essentially bought the team from Bill Terry in 1986 and pretty much built his own team from scratch, worked on his own cars. Basically, what almost felt like he was part of he essentially brought things back to the old days of NASCAR and won a championship, beating out Junior Johnson, who had offered him a contract twice to drive for his team, which Junior Johnson was one of the top teams to drive for back then. And Kalicki winning the 92 championship with literally 7 people working for his team. And take the time to remember who I think is considered probably the greatest underdog. Just to pull off something that incredible with so little is probably hard to top today in NASCAR.
Oh, yeah. You're not going to find someone else like him in this lifetime.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. I think Alan Kawicki, he was an engineer, a smart man. I loved hearing all the different stories about him. Hearing about apparently someone had said that he was even an engineer when it came out to find the perfect woman, because obviously I'm sure he was hanging out with all the Hooters girls back then as well. And apparently how he got the Hooters sponsorship was interesting. So he lost Xerox, and the third race of the year or so, they were at Atlanta. The driver who sponsored Hooters, Mark Stahl, DNQ'd. And Hooters went to Alan Kawicki and said, hey, home track, we need someone to sponsor us. So I believe that deal was actually signed on a piece of napkin, and the rest was history. So
yeah, probably on a napkin from Hooters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was at the Hooters right across the street from the track.
Probably. You make a good point there. Mm-hmm. I've been to Atlanta Motor Speedway once. That was the spring of 2006. I got to see, some of the truck race. I saw the Busch race, but unfortunately, I never saw the Cup race either because it rained. I had to go home.
Yeah.
I was a sad little Alex. But anyway, show's running a little long. I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up here if that's okay.
Yep. I guess that's about all we need to talk about.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun things to talk about. Once again, special thanks to the OrangeCone for joining us here today. It's great having him on. Michael, thank you for bringing him on as well. And thank you for as well being part of this fun little podcast we do.
Yeah, no problem, man.
All righty. And once again, we'll see you guys again very soon. We'll probably be back on to talk about the Bristol race, among other news, because I'm sure any news will probably come by the minute in this day and age. And once again, I know it's been said over and over again, take good care of each other, wash your hands. If you're sick, stay home, be careful. We love you guys. From Michael Klein and myself, Alex Gray, this is the Dropping Hammer Racing Hour on the Growing Truth Where Legends Speak, and we'll see you next time.